Hey fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. We hope you are a Patreon patron, in which case you're getting this real time as soon as it's published. We also provide it real time to YouTube subscribers and to anyone who's a Amazon Prime member who links their Prime account to their Twitch Prime account. Now that last option is the cheapest. It costs you nothing. You're already paying for a Prime membership, so really easy to link to Twitch. So please follow the instructions in the show description below and get it linked, and then Shane can afford to keep driving out here. Cost of gasoline is killing him, so we need that $4 every 2 months out of you so Shane can afford a gallon of gas to get out of here. Let's get to today's question from Patreon, from Neo JD. Three of the biggest names in gaming, including Bobby Kotick, Jim Ryan, and Strauss Zelnick, have said they think Game Pass will hurt the industry in the long run, comparing it to Netflix hemorrhaging money. How do you square your consistent support of Game Pass with your history of being bearish on Netflix? What do you make of Jim Ryan claiming that he talks to all publishers and they unanimously do not like Game Pass because it's value destructive? Are we in a much more pivotal moment in gaming than we realized? No publisher likes Game Pass as a mechanism of distributing content for free instead of selling it for $60 or $70. So asking a publisher, what do you think about Game Pass, presupposes that you mean should EA sell FIFA on Game Pass for free day one as opposed to selling it in the store. And so Bobby, who I've spoken to about this personally a bunch, and Strauss, who I've spoken to about this personally a bunch, both believe that games should have a window where they sell at a premium. But for the Microsoft acquisition of Activision, Call of Duty would never be on Game Pass. So one of the reasons that Microsoft's buying them is to put that on Game Pass day one. Does that mean Microsoft will make less money from selling Call of Duty? 100%. If Call of Duty sells 25 million units a year and there are 25 million Game Pass subscribers, then Call of Duty will sell 15 million units a year, and 10 million of those 25 will get it for free and not buy it, period. That's going to happen. So what happens to that lower revenue, 600 million of lower revenue? Activision loses it. Microsoft's going to lose it after they buy Activision. Yes, it is value destructive for the publisher. Hold that thought for a second, because all spending and revenue and cost is zero sum. What you, the consumer, spend is what the publisher gets. So if it's value destructive for the publisher, meaning they get less money, what does that mean for the consumer? Oh, it's good for the consumer. So let's go to Jim Ryan now. Bad for the consumer if Microsoft buys Activision, but good for the consumer if Activision titles end up on Game Pass. Why is Jim Ryan talking out of both sides of his mouth? So what do I think there? Bad for Sony. Okay, Sony definitely sells fewer units of Call of Duty. And if that happens, they make less money because they get a royalty on every unit sold. How do I reconcile my support of Game Pass with my history of being bearish on Netflix? My consistent support of Game Pass began after they bought Bethesda and not before. I didn't think it was good when they launched it. I didn't think buying Obsidian and Ninja Theory was enough, and In Exile. I didn't think those studios were enough to make anybody subscribe to Game Pass, because Obsidian brings out one game every 3 to 5 years, and Bethesda obviously put me over the top. Ninja Theory, one game every 3 to 5 years. So no, I was not a fan. When they bought Bethesda, I started to get warmed up to the concept by saying, maybe this is the beginning of some big acquisitions. Now, I didn't think Activision. I thought Insomniac type acquisitions. I thought they would buy, studios with 1 or 2 games and start to follow the model of Sony. And there's still, a dozen of those guys out there. So I really thought that's what would happen, and I began to see the potential for Game Pass, but I never thought they would go from, 25 million subscribers to 50 to 100. Until they made the bid for Activision. So my consistent support's been the last year and a half. Quite not coincidentally, so my support for Game Pass began January 18th, 2022, which is the day they announced the acquisition of Activision. My support for Netflix began in May of 2022 when I upgraded it to a buy. I actually took it to a neutral a little earlier than that, but kind of the same time. And the reason was that I saw that Netflix was suddenly about to be profitable, that they were less focused on growth at all costs and much more focused on generating cash and growing by providing greater content, more content. So I flipped from being bearish on Netflix to being a bull. You can look the share price up at 193 on the way to 180. I upgraded to a buy. I upgraded to neutral at 340 because my price target was 342, and I'm entirely intellectually honest. And I said they hit my price target, so it's a neutral. That was back in the fall, I think October, November of 21. But in May of 22, when I hit 193, I upgraded to a buy, and I took my target to like 220 or something. And I've been a buy ever since. It's on our best ideas list. It is at 447. I absolutely love it now because they're doing everything right. So I reconcile it because when a Netflix buys enough content to continue to thrill their subscribers, and you see the success there, I can see Microsoft emulating that model, and that's what I think they're doing with the purchase. So again, Bobby and Strauss are anti-Game Pass because they don't want day-date new releases from third-party publishers there. They don't care about day-date first-party releases because they don't share in that, and it doesn't matter to them. And if Activision doesn't get bought by Microsoft, its content will stay off of Game Pass, and it'll thrive. Imagine if Microsoft were to say to Activision, look, you're going to sell 25 million copies of Call of Duty, generate $1.5 billion from the game sales. We will give you $1 billion a year to put Call of Duty on Game Pass day and date. So you're going to lose 10 million in sales for people who don't have a PlayStation and who don't care, who don't care about lag. But you're going to lose 600 million. We'll give you $1 billion to make up for it. Is Bobby Kotick going to say no to that? No, he'll say yes. And what happens then? Instead of getting, whatever the deal is, 70 billion now, instead of Microsoft paying 70 billion, they pay Activision $1 billion a year and generate 400 million in greater profit a year for Activision. Activision shares will trade up by $20 billion on that deal. It'll go up like crazy. So Bobby will do that deal. And if they said to Strauss, we'll give you, $10 billion a year for GTA, he would do that deal in a heartbeat, and his stock would go to 500. So Microsoft can accomplish the same thing by signing expensive contracts. And I frankly thought that's what they would do rather than spend $70 billion to own Activision. But, that they're trying to spend $70 billion to own Activision. So I can reconcile it. We're not in a pivotal moment at all. You got Jim Ryan. Well, he's old and he's going to retire at the same time I do, so it's no big deal. But you got Jim Ryan worried about leaving a PlayStation that's damaged and on the way down. You got Strauss and Bobby trying to reinforce that the core business of selling console games is healthy, and they want to keep it that way. And I don't blame them. And one thing Take-Two and Activision have in common, they haven't licensed a whole lot of content or any content to Game Pass. You have seen Grand Theft Auto on PlayStation Plus, but I think it was like 2018 or 2019, came out, after 6 years old. They put it on for a limited time, 3 months, on PlayStation Plus. And all that was to drive people to play GTA Online. And they want to get people exposed to the game. So Strauss is really, really smart. I got to say, I love covering the industry because it's populated by really smart guys. Bobby is super smart. Strauss is super smart. They are both right. It doesn't make sense for the publisher to forego revenue and hope to make it back on subscription. But if the subscription service decides to pay up for it, they would both do it in a heartbeat. So again, I think Microsoft acquires Activision. We'll never see that deal. If they don't acquire Activision, remember, you heard it here first, $1 billion a year for Call of Duty day and date launch on Game Pass. Activision will do it. And that, by the way, if it was $1 billion a year versus royalty on every new subscriber added. Imagine if Game Pass added 25 million subscribers in that year, and Activision, instead of getting $1 billion, got $5 a month per new subscriber. They'd make more money. They'd make $1.5 billion. So I could see Activision saying yes and not losing any money at all. Thanks for watching Pachter Factor. If you're a Patreon patron, we appreciate your patronage. You're getting this stuff real time. If you are a YouTube subscriber, you're also getting this real time. And if you don't have any money, but you're an Amazon Prime member, you can get us paid just by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. The instructions on how to do that are in the show description below this picture. So get on that, please. And everybody else, including the guys above, follow me on Twitter. You're getting a week later than the guys who actually pay or who took the effort and time to link their Prime accounts together. But at least follow me on Twitter, make me feel good. I've actually ticked up a couple hundred since I've been saying this, so let's see if I can keep it. I'll see you guys next time.